and welcome back to my channel. My name is Shannon Lee. Today I am back with another episode of the Great British Bake Along, and this week on the show it was pastry week, which means I had a choice of making
Pasties, because I said it wrong originally.
eclairs or doing like their showstopper challenge with the cages. And first off, I'm not doing the showstoppers because that's just way too much work and I don't feel like doing that. So I decided today I'm gonna try making some
Pasties.
My friend Andrea, she does eclairs. I don't know if she's gonna do that this week or not, but I didn't feel like doing that this week. I figured if I could make a savory dish for one of these challenges, I'm going to do that. I'm gonna be completely honest, I'm much better at cooking and working with savory foods than I am working with sweet. And yeah, so we're gonna make a vegan chickenless pot pie kind of
Pasties.
It's kind of a combination of like two different recipes. And so like I am gonna be kind of following a recipe. So the first thing I'm gonna point out is that I will have that link down below. I am going to be following for like the actual pastry dough part on the outside of my little hand pie. I'm gonna be following another recipe from Domestic Goddess. She is absolutely amazing. She seems to have all of the recipes I could possibly need for these challenges. So I'm gonna be following her dough recipe for the pastry. A couple weeks ago, I made a chickenless pot pie soup recipe, and I'm gonna be taking the base of that soup and making it thicker so that it will fit within the pastry. Hopefully, we won't end up with any soggy bottoms. And yeah, so I'm gonna start working on the pastry. What I'm going to do is I have my little food processor here, and I have already weighed out about 400 grams of flour, and I'm gonna add that to my food processor along with some, I'm gonna do curry powder instead of turmeric. I'm gonna do probably like a teaspoon or two of that just to give it some flavor, give it a little bit of color. And then we're gonna add in 1 teaspoon of salt and, let's see, I have my phone over here with the directions. About 200 grams of like a vegan type of butter. So I'm gonna get started on this. So I'm gonna start adding in my 400 grams of flour to this food processor, and I'm probably gonna make a mess like I always do because I'm terrible. By the way, I definitely need to get a bigger food processor, but this is what I have, so we're gonna work with it. Oh no, this is not gonna fit.
So this is the part of baking where I realized that my food processor definitely was not big enough, and I still attempted to use it anyway. As you can see, I tried to scoop out a little bit and see if I could do it in batches, but that didn't exactly work out. But anyway, I am just gonna continue with this recipe and add in 200 grams of Earth Balance vegan butter. If there is another type of plant-based butter or margarine that you wanna use, go ahead and use it. I'm also gonna be adding in probably 1 to 2 teaspoons of curry powder instead of turmeric, which is in the original recipe, but I wanted to do something a little different. And then we're just gonna blend this up, and it's supposed to clump, but as you can see, it's not quite doing that, and I made the mistake of trying to add in more and more flour, but yeah, this is definitely not working. I don't know why I did this. Oh look, I'm still trying to process this, and clearly it's not working, but yet I'm just gonna keep shoving that butter down there. I don't know why I kept trying to process this, but clearly it wasn't working, and I definitely needed to take some of it out. But yeah, just kept trying. Like 10 minutes later, still trying, and still not working. So after finally removing a bunch of flour and butter and adding in a little bit of ice water, as you can see, it did start forming a dough finally. And I was able to blend this up, and basically I just had to do this in batches because my food processor is really small. So yeah, not off to a great start, but I mean, yeah, we'll see how the rest of this goes. Now let's see what happens when I try to blend up the rest of the flour and butter. I can bet you it's not gonna work. So yeah, I got really lucky, and this second batch formed a dough ball, which was supposed to happen originally. And yeah, I'm just gonna add in some other bits from the first batch just to try to mix it in a little bit better, even though I do plan on mixing this a little bit by hand just to make sure everything is well incorporated. Yeah, third round trying to blend this up into another dough ball didn't work as well as the second batch, but you know, I'm gonna keep trying anyway because at this point I'm like, it can't get any worse. Yeah, I definitely gave up and just decided I was just gonna mix all of this by hand, which worked out just fine. And I probably should have done this from the beginning, but I figured I was gonna try my hardest to follow this recipe. So now I'm gonna weigh out my dough, and I believe it was 636 grams, so I needed about 106 grams per dough ball because the recipe calls for 6 dough balls. So I'm just gonna divide that up now, and then once I am done with that, I'm just gonna cover them up and put them in the fridge for about 30 minutes to set.
So you get to see my face again. Sorry for the awkward camera angles today. My counter's not very clean because I've been doing a lot of cooking lately. But I'm also working over on the stovetop. I have this pot over here, which is where I'm going to cook all of my filling. I'm gonna start using this Better Than Bouillon vegetable base broth thing. It's basically, you take like a tablespoon of this, or maybe even like a teaspoon. I think you can use less. Dissolve 1 teaspoon and about 8 ounces of water. So I'm just gonna add some of this to the pot with some water, and we're gonna get that boiling. And in the meantime, I'm also gonna prep 3 carrots, 3 gold potatoes, and I was out of celery, so I had to omit that. And I'm also gonna add in some green peas, and I do have a yellow onion, which I'm gonna chop up half of that too. So let's get to that, and then we will get back to the stovetop. JK, we already have onion chopped up from earlier this week, so we're gonna use that.
So because I was trying to use up what I had in my fridge for this recipe, I had to pick out all of the green peas from this weird frozen veggie mix, but it worked out anyway. I didn't really need that much.
And this is the thing that really gives it its flavor. It is this Trader Joe's vegan chickenless seasoning salt, and we're gonna add in probably like a tablespoon, maybe 2, to this mixture, and that should be good. Just gonna add in some red pepper flakes because we like a little bit of a kick. A little bit of smoked paprika. Lastly, we're gonna add in some celery seed.
So after adding in all of those ingredients, we are just going to mix this up really, really well and then bring it to a simmer. Once it is simmering, I'm gonna put the lid on this pot and let it sit for about 30 minutes, just until everything is fully cooked. The potatoes are really soft, and then we can start thickening our sauce. So after simmering for about 30 minutes, and honestly probably just like letting it sit there without the heat on for probably like another 30-ish minutes, this is what my chickenless pot pie kind of soup mixture looks like. To me, this is still pretty runny because I definitely want it to be a little bit thicker, first off, so that we don't end up with a soggy pastry, and also so that the liquid doesn't leak out from our pastry later when I'm trying to fold over the dough. So to thicken up this sauce, you can always add in a tablespoon or 2 of some cornstarch. That is going to help thicken the sauce. So if you heat up the soup, it's going to thicken it, and then when it cools, it'll also thicken a little bit more. So you definitely don't want to add too much cornstarch. I'm kind of weird and I like to add a lot, but cornstarch doesn't really have a flavor. You just want to make sure you mix it really well so that you're not getting weird clumpy bits. But you could also make a roux on the stovetop. All it is just some melted butter and some flour, and that's just going to create kind of like its own little thickening agent that you can add to this mixture. But I chose not to do that because I just wanted to go a little bit faster with this recipe and didn't want to make any more dishes because I make a lot of dishes when I'm cooking or baking, and I hate the cleanup. So sadly, I lost the footage of me making these, so you guys just get to see what it looks like before it went to the oven. Basically, I just took out my little pastry dough balls, and I had to add a bunch of extra water to kind of get them to more of a moldable consistency. Otherwise, they were just crumbling and falling apart. And then I filled them with probably about like 1 heaping tablespoon-ish of my filling, and then I pressed the edges with my fingers using some water to help the edges stick. It took me a long time to figure out how to work with that dough, but eventually I kind of figured it out, and it just works. It's a little thicker than I wanted them to be, but I'm fine with it. Before these went into the oven, I brushed them with a little bit of oat milk to help them brown. And I baked mine at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 40 minutes, but you could do it at 30 if it cooks faster, but mine were kind of thick because of the dough. So this is what my pasties look like fresh out of the oven. They are pretty hot, but they are definitely a nice golden brown. And they also tasted really good. I would definitely make these again, but I need to roll out the dough a lot thinner.
So these are my chickenless
Pasties
with a curry pastry puff kind of outer thing, fully vegan, and I already tasted the filling over there, which I was eating while I was on video chatting with my friend. But yeah, these are what they look like, and I'm very proud. I know I didn't make 15 like the bakers on the show, but this is what my dough recipe was going to give me, so that's what I made. Probably could have made more, but these are the pretty ones that you can look at. If you want to see the ugly, here are my ugly ones. These are the ones where the dough just fell apart. This was my first one, and that's where I realized I probably should just add water and work the dough before filling it. But yeah, I am extremely proud of these guys.
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Great British Bake-Along Challenge, and I'm really sorry that I lost some of my footage, but for some reason my file says that it has been corrupt and I can't get it back. But yeah, this is what I made this week for pastry week, and it was actually really, really good. If you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. That lets me know what kind of content you want to see. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. This way you are notified every single time that I am posting videos. If you want a sneak peek at what's coming to this channel, go check me out on Instagram at @SimplyShannonLee. I'm always posting awesome food pictures over there, and you might get to see what my next video could be. And I will see you guys again next week with another episode of the Great British Bake Along. But you guys can also come back on Friday for another normal video.